or I'm even going to paint my face like a voodoo guy. And that's what I love about wrestling, is that I've been able to do a lot of different characters. And I do see that in some of the old wrestlers, like why Terry Funk, the world champion, came to WWE as Chainsaw Charlie. Sometimes you want to change it up and do something different, even if people will recognize that that's Terry Funk. But why did he do that? He never came as Terry Funk. It was Chainsaw Charlie and Mankind, you know. And as you get older in wrestling, you want to try different things, and I think that's what you'll see that a lot of times in wrestling. I think Superstar Billy Graham did that. He had a great gimmick as Superstar Billy Graham wrestling Bruno at the Madison Square Garden. And then he decided to change his gimmick to some kind of karate guy. Shaved his head, no more bleach blonde, had a mustache, and was a karate expert, and really never caught on. But I always hated that he did that. But as I started doing that, and I was Voodoo Chaos, and people would say, "When are you gonna bleach your hair, cut your hair?" If I was the luchador, I understood that I had to be. I understood that I had to be the I had to have that change for myself. And so sometimes you'll understand maybe wrestlers will do that, and you'll be like, man, I loved him so much. I love Shawn Michaels when he was the asshole. Yeah, well, you know what? As a man, he grew up, and he doesn't want to be the asshole Shawn Michaels anymore. He wants to be the respected Shawn Michaels, the Bible thumping, not disrespecting that, but that's what he was about when he made his when he did his comeback. And you'll see that, and I hope that every one of you will actually be able to do that and see the trials and tribulations of being a professional wrestler. I've had the advantage of being a pro wrestler at 15, 18 years old, 21 years old, 25, all the way up until now. So I kind of see that in a lot of the wrestlers. And one of the reasons that I always say to myself, why, Joey, why didn't you make it to on the national level? And what my answer is that I was an underachiever, 100%. I mean, I can say I didn't know how it was done in wrestling. I didn't go to traditional wrestling school. I didn't know about sending out my 8x10s or video and stuff like that. I could say that, but I think really at the end of the day, I was just an underachiever, and I do see that time after time on the independent level. I see a lot of underachievers, and so I try to take that and really try to encourage wrestlers to do things that they don't think that they can do. So you don't become that underachiever like I was. Really want to just kind of. I would always say to myself, I don't want to reach out to WWE right now until I'm ready. And then quote unquote, I think I reached out to them about 12 years in, and I quote unquote ready 12 years in, and then they told me, oh, this is bad, this is terrible, this, that, and the other, and you're just like, damn, that really brought me down. So I always tell all my students to shoot for the moon. Try to get booked on PWG and let Super Dragon tell you you're not ready. You know, really put yourself out there. You want to be a commentator, you want to be a wrestler on a show, just really put yourself out there and shoot for the moon, because that's really what it is. We can sit here in class and I could teach you all about wrestling the same way we can talk about push-ups, but it really doesn't work until we actually put it into play. And 9 times out of 10, all you have to do is apply yourself. You really just have to apply yourself. It's like the simplest thing in the world, but we're our biggest enemies sometimes when we're our biggest fans at the same time, is that we will knock ourselves down. We're not ready yet for it. That's not, I would say that's not your decision. Don't be like me, because you're going to be 12 years in, think you're ready, and they're going to tell you everything's wrong. Let them tell you you're not ready, because 9 times out of 10, I don't think John Cena was ready when he won the championship belt. It comes a time where it's either sink or swim. We've seen champions like maybe even Jinder Mahal that actually got the championship, and he had it for X amount of time, but did he do anything with it? Was he able to maintain on that main event level? And like, you can get the opportunity. The opportunity is actually easy. Staying on that level is actually the harder part, right? I think when I was an extra in WWE, I got a chance. All the extras got a chance to sit down with MVP, and he was very gracious with his knowledge, and really saying that you're not just here to be an extra. Everybody here obviously wants to get a job, but what can you bring to the table? You know, that's what he said. What can you bring to the table? They just don't want to pay you for you to live your dream. What ideas do you have in your mind? Are you creative enough? And so that's what he said. He says, I came up with the Montel Porter or MVP gimmick where I sit in the, and I told, he says, I wrote it all down, and where I sit in the crowd, and I said I do these angles with, you know, these certain wrestlers, whether it was Jeff Hardy or Matt Hardy or whoever it was. But he says I didn't put myself in the main event and saying I want to do an angle with John Cena, because then they probably wouldn't even read it. They said you got to be realistic about how you're going to try to enter, like, you know, make a debut in professional wrestling. And so he laid his whole plan down. He said he had a whole folder that he pitched. It wasn't just something he spoke and pitched it. He gave them the folder so they could take it home, because every day, obviously, the day at the taping or Monday Night Raw, it's a busy day. Are they going to look at your information? Probably not, you know, but if they may get a chance to take it to the hotel, right? You have a lot of downtime, you're catching a flight or whatever the case, you might look at it. And that's what they did with MVP. And they hired him and they brought him in as the character that he created, you know? So I think it's very important to be proactive, you know, and trying to get a job and thinking about the ways that you are. And you got to think about it. You're going to have all these cool ideas and you're going to get shot down, right? 9 times out of 10. But you can't let it discourage you, right? They're going to say, well, you know, learn to fucking roll before you have a fucking, you know, your character and your whole folder and stuff like that, you know. But you can't let that discourage you, because somebody will bite, you know, because you never know what a promotion, a booker, is looking for. You know, sometimes you just fit the idea, and these writers are under pressure. They're trying to write creative writing that has to be redone. You know, 15 minutes before the show starts. So they're really just looking for someone to fit the character. And so if you can help them out, you know, as opposed to just saying I'm a really good wrestler, but also saying I'm a really good wrestler and here are my ideas. And I think that's the idea that I want you to start brewing in your head, along with your character, your personality, and just kind of I guess programs or instances that you would put yourself in a wrestling debut. How would this person debut? You know, being realistic about it. Not putting yourself in the main event or whatever the case is. And then just trying to really just get your foot in the door. That's number one. And then you got to work your way up and then really try to stay right. Because they say that's even what MVP says. He says it's easy to actually get the job. It's hard to actually stay at the job. And then it's even incredibly harder to actually get airtime, whether it be on Monday Night Raw, NXT, or SmackDown. And it's just that's the incredibly hard part, right? You can get the job, and there's so many people. I've known people at WWE since 2012 and have had very minimal TV time. I think the Steve Cutler was from the Monster Factory since 2012, and I think he got one taste of a three man tag team, and then he was off TV, and he's still trying to find his way to get on there. So sometimes they'll even have you on the roster for 8 years, or whatever the case is, but you're not on TV. And how can that feel? That can't feel great, right? All the fans say, "Oh, but you're making money." It's not about that, right? We don't get into this to make. If you want to make money, go become a banker, go do real estate or something like that. You'll probably make more money than you will in wrestling. We do this because we love it with a passion, you know. And then also, you got to be a little bit crazy stupid to do what we do in professional wrestling in order to say, I want to take a bump night after night, a superplex, or God forbid, get hit with a chair. And I'll tell each and every one of you, no chairs, no chairs, no chairs, no hit. I've taken enough chair shots for you to say I can do a wrestling career without using a chair. You know, it's not smart in professional wrestling. We don't want to hit ourselves over the head, especially now what we know with CTE. But that's a whole subject that we'll actually get into down the line on the course. So I wanted to talk to Mr. Hyde, eating dinner there, right there. Mr. Hyde, how was Championship Wrestling from Hollywood? What did you think? Was that your first time there?
So I've actually been there for 2 months before the pandemic, doing ring crew, and they were gonna put me on February, but then I had surgery, and then March the pandemic happened. But going back, it was good. It's just a really good atmosphere. I enjoyed it. Very professional. I was comfortable, confident. Like everyone stuck to their times. Everyone was friendly. Um, and everyone's just there to like work, and stick to their time.
So you said you already knew how to wrestle, and you had went to do ring crew to try to break in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's how it is, isn't it? Like you're
Everywhere. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you'll see. We have videos of Brody King, who's under contract, making good money at Ring of Honor, but we have videos of him. He's working the door security. I mean, there's a number of Santino brothers that have been referees. I mean, everyone. I don't think Jake. I think we always thought he was probably too big to be a referee, but most guys will do what they can to just be part of the show. Hey, can I hold the camera? I've done camera work before, or even if it's just lugging the ring.
Hmm.
And then right, let's talk about that, Hyde. Like, hey, people that come to help, but don't actually really help. They just come early and do the minimum and stand around. Does that happens, right?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? If that's, or are you that person? Are you
Well,
the one busting your ass?
no, I'm busting my ass. My shirt's all sweaty and shit, man. But there are people there, and they're all pissy that why aren't I on the show? I've been here for like 2 months, and it's like, well, dude, like you should be like busy all the time. Like if someone needs like a screwdriver, like go and find it. Like ask around, what can I do to help clean up? Even though like if you see trash, if it's not yours, clean it up. You have to do everything to help the production. You have to be useful, not just there to wrestle and then leave. Like you have to be there like all day, watch all the matches, learn from other people's mistakes, learn from the stuff they do well. But yeah, it pisses me off when people aren't helping. It's like, dude, this isn't like easy work. Like the more people that'll help, the faster we can like, get to the show. And that's why we sometimes start late because people aren't helping. But that does piss me off.
And I think it doesn't go unnoticed, right? The hard work that you put in, you think you're putting it in, and it goes unnoticed. It is noticed by all the higher ups, and then also the people that stand around. That's noticed, and they might not tell you straight out. Like you may be put on a mental shit list,
Hmm.
and you may still be invited to come over and help out. You may still be invited to help them move that ring or whatever the case is, because everyone's just looking for extra hands. But, we go through this rigorous training, at least with Santino Brothers, which is 12 months, 3 days a week, day in, day out, probably just taking New Year's and Christmas off. And then now you're lugging the ring around, or you're figuring out how can I be helpful? Are you a graphic designer? And it's just like that might not be what you're trying to do in professional wrestling, but you have to utilize those skills in order to get your foot in the door. And a lot of
Yeah,
times it comes into like no one's gonna say, hey, do my graphic designs. They're actually gonna make you help do the ring a little bit first, and then they'll probably come and ask you to do the graphic designs or stuff like that, and you can break in. But it's always just trying to be incredibly helpful and useful, and it teaches you a skill to be that ring crew guy. And you're like, well, I'm not trying to be the ring crew guy. Well, if you get an opportunity to be a referee at WWE, every referee at WWE is a ring crew guy. They're the ones that actually put the ring up, put it together. They have they have a ring that's like has a lot more bolts involved than ours. Ours is like a connect piece or a Lego. You just click it in, and it's really simple. But yeah, if you ever, and a lot of times that happens with wrestlers as you're in there and you're rolling and you're like, man, I'm taking bumps or I'm getting suplex, whatever the case is, and you're like, man, I just can't get over it. My tailbone is killing me, my lower back is killing me, or my shoulder just keeps popping out. And then you say, well, I love wrestling, but it just it doesn't look like I'm going to be a pro wrestler. Well, but I still love it. I still want to be part of this business. Then that's where the opportunity may come in to be a referee or even a ring announcer or commentator. If you have that gift of gab, that's really going to help you out. Obviously, it's going to help you out all around. Obviously, because how else was I an underachiever? Not networking enough, not being friendly enough, maybe just keeping to myself too much. It's this the wrestling business. I always say there's no friends in the wrestling business, and I still stand by that. Um, You find a lot of great friends in the wrestling business. But the reason I say is because I say don't trust people because they always try to maybe screw you over in the wrestling business. And I've seen it happen time and time again. And I hope you never have to go through that. I've had to deal with that, you know, and I hope that it's actually Sesame Street and it's all sunshine and roses for you. But, you know, it's part of when it becomes you're taking my spot. I'm not gonna fucking let that happen. And people say, hey, you know what this person did? Yeah, they were talking shit about you or this and try to get you on the promoter's bad side. And I think that does happen a lot in professional wrestling. So, but networking is so key. Is so
Yeah.
key. You know, you have to network. If they're going to go out and eat afterwards, you should go out and eat with everybody because you want to be part of the network. You know, you don't want to just keep to yourself. And I think that was probably my biggest problem. I didn't network enough. I just loved wrestling. I wanted to go in and do it and then get out and just hang out. I was be with my uncle or our little clique of friends, and that was it. But I would highly recommend networking. You know, if you really want to make this a business for yourself, and I think everybody does. You know, if you want to wrestle on a national level, it's going to take that much work. You know, you may get lucky just to get onto the show without knowing about wrestling, and it does happen. But you know, if you're at wrestling school, it's going to be a long journey. You know, it's going to be a tough journey, and it may be quick. Who knows? You know, someone may make the national level in 15 years, like maybe Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles, not counting TNA,
Mhm.
or you could be maybe like The Rock, you know, and get on the national level really quick, and then get on the main event level really quick, you know. But he's an anomaly, I think, you know. So, but maybe there'll be someone that'll come. So. But yeah, I'm glad you had a good experience. I hope that you were comfortable, but I hope you don't become complacent, right?
Uh,
Right? We don't
yeah.
want to be complacent. We want to be comfortable, but not complacent ever in our life, right?
Yeah.
Average shouldn't be in our vocabulary. We don't want it. All right, so let's. Oh, you know what? I gotta be honest with you. I missed the picture. Let's take the picture now. Again, let's cross our arms. I didn't get it last time. That's why I didn't go up on our social medias. We're just gonna cross our arms and then we'll go ahead and click it. Um, and we'll go 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. And we're out. And I'm making sure that that part is recording on there. All right, so before we get into it, we're in the middle of the match breakdown. But before we get into, I think we got up to the fifth. Yeah, to the fifth one. Does anybody have any questions on the match breakdown? We did the established heel and face. The face shines. The heel cuts off. We did the heat, the small and false comebacks, and I think now we're at the full comeback. And I think we'll really get a kick out of it when I get a chance to go over a match with every single one of you. We try to do it during the class, but I do find it a lot easier to maybe try to schedule a one-on-one with you, whether it's 20 or 30 minutes, just to call the match with you. And then you can see what actual moves that we would use in these situations, you know. So I'm explaining it to you here, but I'll give you a chance to actually put your moves in all these situations, and I think that'll probably actually come later this week. Looks like it. So, but any questions? Has everyone pretty much got it so far? The match breakdown. If you have a question, don't raise your hand. Just go ahead and speak up in case I don't see you. And then if not, we will go ahead and continue. We will get through this. We will get through it, and I think that everybody here will be a smart professional wrestler. And I think as an old timer, I guess that's me. I was always young. I was the youngest person in SoCal for about 8 years as a professional wrestler. But now I'm an old timer, and as an old timer, I hope that I will drill into your head that less is more. Not saying that you're not going to do less. You will do it, but I know you'll still get your spots in, and then it'll come down the line where you'll go, man, you know what really worked? I just did 2 moves or 3 moves, or it did less. It's tried and it's true. But what also is tried and true is that beginners will ignore the veterans' advice until a little bit down the line. So I hope to try to drill that into your head. And the reason being is because you guys get so excited and you want to do the power slam and the shining wizard and the cranium kick and go off the top rope and do the frog splash and Alabama jammer, and you want to do everything because you learned it all. It took so much time to try to get on a show. So I understand that also because I was a young, dumb wrestler too. Not to say that you're dumb because you will be 20 times better than I was ever as a wrestler when I began. Just by having this information. This is the information. So a lot of this information is what led me to probably be more of an underachiever. Was because how do you do it? I don't know. I just see these guys on television. I don't know how it's done. I'm surprised that we're even going to a ring, and that's how it was for the first couple of years, being in a real pro wrestling ring. So, all right. So we talked about the heat, right? And we talked about the hope and staying alive in the match, right? And we're really trying to build the drama. The heat portion of the match is the heel trying to get the heat from the fans, really trying to get the fans to see that them, and for us to really cheer the face on, to really tell them to get up when we're watching Rocky. If we've ever seen Rocky, and if you haven't, you should watch it. At the end, we're really cheering him on to get up, and he's climbing the ropes, and the guy is counting whatever the count is, a 20 count, I think it is back then. And he's just trying to get up, and he gets to his feet, and I think that's the drama that we are trying to build, right? The heat that Apollo Creed had on him because he was just so arrogant, and he could beat Rocky because Rocky wasn't even a full-time boxer at the time. But the little engine that Rocky was proved the underdog that he was, that he could maintain and fight on a top level with the champion. He didn't even win. Rocky didn't even win in the first movie, spoiler alert. But that's the drama we're trying to build, really trying to get. And that's why it's like, I don't need to do a bunch of moves if I'm the heel. If I do a bunch of moves, Willie and Sean and Sasha and Hyde and Matt, they might start liking me as a wrestler. He's like, I like his attitude and he's doing all these cool moves, so that's just a little subtle way that I can do that, and I can still do my cool stuff. I can still be a cool wrestler. Just because I'm the heel doesn't mean I have to handcuff myself, but you can, because you get a lot of the attention through your personality and the heat that you give, and how you connect with that crowd while you're giving that heat to your opponent. So we want to build that up, because if I don't do my job as a heel to really get the crowd against me, and then really hope that you do your job as a face, not only selling, staying alive, but your facial expressions to really show the pain and the anguish in your face, to show that you have that never say die attitude, that you will not give up. And that's what people start getting behind, so we both have to do our job in the heat in order for you to have, or for the face to have, a great comeback, because the comeback is now the start of our climax, and the climax of the match should probably be when, whatever it is, when El Pancho Loco hits his Gonzo Bomb on Chaos and everyone loses their shit and he pins 1, 2, 3. That should be the climax where everyone's just losing it, and they jump, and they go from the edge of their seat to jumping up to their feet, and that's what we want. That's what we're really trying to build towards. So I have to do my job as a heel to get that, to really build that heat, to really get that hate from that crowd, because now the comeback is where the tides are going to turn. Everything has now been going right for the face every time, or excuse me, for the heel. Everything's been going right for the heel. Every time the face has been trying to mount a comeback, the heel has been at least smart enough to keep the face down by how? By just actually striking the body part that they injured early on in order to start the heat, right? At least how we're doing it in our story. We could do matches where I just hit you with a power slam and now I just start beating you up. I don't have to go into a body part, but I think going to that body part really gives a detail of telling a story. Even if you don't even have a story, you don't have a program, the only story you have is the 8 minutes from curtain to curtain, and you're able to get that story and that point across, So this is where the tides turn. Now it's going to be opposite. Everything's going to start going right for the face because they're building up their power meter. And that's how you have to think about it when you're taking heat. It's not just my turn, your turn, it's building that comeback. And I think that's always detailed in when any coach is talking about a comeback, is that we build the comeback. We don't just do the comeback. It's not, I'm hitting you with a clothesline and back elbow and choking you, and then you just clothesline me. Yeah, that could be a comeback. I'm sure it can work 100%. It's going to take some thinking to do it, but it's a little bit easier to maybe start building it from the ground up, from being right on the floor, from right on the floor to maybe going to one, two knees and a hand, and you push your heel away, and he's looking like, just get out of here. I have full control. And then as he comes back, you throw a strike that makes the heel actually kind of jerk a little bit, but doesn't hurt him too much, angers him more. And then as he comes again, right? You up the ante from just a strike to a headbutt to the gut, right? Now they're really, oh, but at that time, when you throw that first strike, you can go to all fours. And now when you throw that headbutt, you can go to 1 foot. Now you're starting, right? Just even physically, visually looking at it, you are building the comeback just with your mannerisms and your body movements from just on the ground to now on 1 foot because of that headbutt. Now, as they come back, maybe the heel can throw a punch and you can block it or you can duck it, right? You duck it and you fire up on the heel, and the heel sells it, right? And then maybe you now can mount a an Irish whip and whip your heel. Now here's where I like a little bit of heel hope to come in. And all we're going to do is simply give the heel a reversal. So that way it's not just the heel just took 3, 4 punches and now he's just going to get put on Dream Street. Let's show that he's still in the fight and he reverses the whip to the corner. But since everything is going to be going right for our face, the face is going to go up and over. And now the heel crashes into the turnbuckle, right? Now he took 2 punches to the stomach, he took punches to the face, took a headbutt to the face, and now he crashed into the turnbuckle like Bret Hart, but maybe he doesn't take a bump. Turns around, I would like the heel to throw another clothesline to keep some competitive spirit in it on both ends, even though I know the heel is not going to hit it. Could be anything. Your spin wheel kick, I don't care. Just maybe don't leave your feet. Now this is where the heel or the face really starts mounting his comeback. And now let's go back to wrestling by numbers. What did we call on Thursday? I don't know. I think they did an arm drag, hip toss, drop kick, clothesline over the top rope. So now we know that in our comeback, we're at a clothesline over the top rope type of ante. That's going to be for wrestling by numbers. That's going to be number 1 at this point because we are in our major comeback. So now the moves need to be a little bit bigger and better, you know. So for instance, if they've already done the drop kick, so now let's just up it. So now I go up and over. I ducked, or excuse me, the face goes up and over. The face ducks my clothesline. I turn around and they give me a big, huge flapjack, right, lifting me up and slamming me on my face. Right. And I think that's like kind of a stunner move where as a heel, I can actually bounce back to my feet, right? Still in the competitive spirit. I'm still in a fight. That hurt me, but I'm not out yet, right? My power meter as a heel is now here, right? Okay. So they hit me with that flapjack. I can, as a heel, I pop up. We could even throw in those clotheslines right there. Bump and feed, clothesline. Heel gets up, tries to charge in again. Clothesline. Heel gets up. Maybe I throw a clothesline at the face, and the face catches it, right, and now puts me into a big whatever Falcon Arrow. Big move. Hits a big move. Now, if they hit a Falcon Arrow, I would say that's probably the end of this comeback. And now the Falcon Arrow can be the finish, right? Because if he hits me with that Falcon Arrow, boom! And I showed a little bit of competitive spirit as a heel that's just trying to stay into the fight, but as he came back, it was just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, match is over, right? Or this is where the drama comes in. So now that can be added. The Falcon Arrow can be now called a false finish. If I kick out, obviously, as a heel. We can go either way. We can go false finish back and forth. We can go, which I think is maybe overplayed these days, false finishes back and forth. If when I produce those matches on Tuesday, when they have to do a false finish or they want to do it, I say, well, how about this? In this case, the face hits me with the Falcon Arrow. How about the face just does a couple of false finishes and I don't. So we don't go back and forth. So it doesn't look like your turn, my turn, and my. It looks like the face is just trying so many moves to try to beat me. So boom, hits me with the Falcon Arrow, covers, 1, 2, kicks out, right? I'm right there laying in the middle of the ring. Now what? Wrestling by numbers tells me the face has to up the ante. So maybe they go to the top rope, right? They hit the Alabama Jam, right? That's a leg drop from the top rope. Or maybe they want to hit the frog splash or whatever the case is. So they go to the top rope and maybe they hit the frog splash. I could even we could even add more drama. He could hit the frog splash, go for the cover, right? That's kind of a real basic match. Or I can move, put my knees up. I still don't even have to move, hit a move. I could just put my knees up, but we could do a double down. I could start crawling up, try to pick him up. The face counters and then comes back. Or I could even put even better. This is even better. I'm building matches with you guys. Even better, as I put my knees up as a heel, I grab him. I got to up the ante. I put him on the top rope. Like I'm going to superplex him, start punching. The face starts coming back. Bumps me off the top rope. Now the face standing right there. Let's hit the frog splash. Boom. Now he hits it, right? Covers, 1, 2, kick out, right? We're still one-sided false finishes on this point. Showing some heel hope, but I don't have to hit anything, right? Now we could even take it home right there if 2 false finishes is enough. You want to keep going, we could keep going, or you can now attempt to go for a move. I can counter it and hit you with my Gonzo Bomb. And now the match can be over. 1, 2, 3. Everyone would say it's a valiant effort, especially from the face who hurt their neck or back early on. And Chaos relentlessly stood and kept onto the back. No one's going to look down at that finish. Or even maybe better yet, I don't even do a Gonzo Bomb. I do a simpler move where I hold the ropes. But I hate a roll-up after we've already been hitting some cool moves. Like if we're hitting a power bomb and then I kick out of a power bomb, but then can't kick out of a roll-up, I think that's a little Maybe if you're going to do a roll-up, stick to just wrestling hold for hold. But let's talk a little bit about false finishes. So what actually makes a move a false finish? And I'll tell you this is first of all, you have to have a finish in order to have a false finish, right? And you have to be able to beat somebody consecutively with this move. Let's say a DDT, for instance, like Jake the Snake Roberts, consecutively beat people, whether it's for just to build up to be the number 1 contender, to actually get into the match and win the belt with the DDT. And you start building this move as it is incredibly deadly. Every time this person, every time Rain or Alfredo or Hannah or Sage hits their DDT, nobody's ever gotten up. We have to do that consecutively in order to make a false finish, make a real false finish. I guess we can always just kick out of everything and call it a false finish, but for it to be a true false finish, you would have to beat people consecutively with it, train the fans that this is my move, and when I hit it, it's all over. There's no getting up from it. No one's ever gotten up from it. So when it's time and you're done with the DDT and because you're a wrestler and you always want to evolve and you come up with another cool move, we've seen Jericho do it time and time again, from the Lion Salt as his finisher to the Lion Tamer to the Code Breaker to now, I'm probably missing some in the middle, to the back elbow, right? And so now, even just taking Jericho for instance, so now like since he's done that, all of those moves are a false finish now, because he's consecutively beat people with the Lion Tamer, he's consecutively beat people with the Lion Salt and the Code Breaker, and so on and so forth. So now when he hits someone with the Code Breaker, we can still be surprised that they kick out because, man, he used to beat them all the time with this move, right? And I think as a wrestler, you should mix it up. Still beat people with the Code Breaker here and there. So that way when they kick out of it, that's why the face or the heel is so, oh my God, or Jericho is just, oh my God, they kicked out of the Lion Salt. No one's ever kicked out, right? I think a lot of wrestlers today will never hit a move and never finish a move on anybody. They'll hit the Lion Salt and someone kicks out and they're surprised. And I say, why are you so surprised? You've never beat anyone with it before anyway. What makes you so surprised? So that's what the surprise should be. That's when wrestlers are really doing it the right way, right? Can you imagine, right? When they kick out, if they probably already did, but when they kick out of the RKO, I could see Randy Orton's face going, "What the frick is going on here?" You know? So it becomes so important to build these finishes up in order to get that false finish. So even really thinking about it, when you make your debut match, and as should be, there should be zero false finishes in your match, right? I mean, we could just put it in there. That's great, but build your wrestler, build the moves, right? Less is more. You're gonna want to do. I'm gonna be honest with you. You're all gonna want to do the multiple false finishes in your first match, right? Because that's like the epic Rocky match. That's like the epic WrestleMania match, and everyone's. Hey, your debut is gonna be your epic fucking match, right? Because it's the first time you're ever wrestling, so it's gonna be the biggest match of your career, right? And so you're going to want to do everything, right? Fight that desire to do that, and just keep it really simple. If you have a good enough promoter or booker that's giving you direction, and that's another thing. Like, a lot of promoters or bookers don't give enough direction. I think as wrestlers, like, just even me myself, like, I don't want to listen to nobody, but still, what do you want? What do you want to see tonight? Because I want to do the best job that I can do. Either it's because I want to do a good job and stay on the roster, or maybe I'm already on the roster and it's ego, and I want to show you that I am the best and I can do anything you want me to do. So there's so many different ways that you can get direction, and you should want direction. Always even asking, what do you guys want to see from this match? Most promoters or bookers today will just be like, just have a great match. So what happens? Everyone does false finishes, because that's like an epic match. But really try to find that feedback, not just after the match, but find the feedback before. What are you looking for? What do you want me to do? What's your ideas today? If they don't have ideas, maybe try to work with your booker promoter to get ideas, right? That's part of that networking, part of that being MVP, and really submitting, hey, what do you think about this? If I fight up to the number one contender, that's what it always comes down to. So I can get the number one contendership, so I can be in the main event, And if you're not trying to be the champion, you're not trying to be in the main event, that's like what I was telling Hyde today, right? Be comfortable, but not complacent. Then you're just going to be complacent. And we don't want to be complacent, right? We want to strive to do more, right? I mean, at that point, just say, hey, I was a wrestler. Now it's time to wrap it up and maybe move on and do something else that I can find and be passionate about. But you never just want to be on the roster or just be happy to be on the roster. You got to be happy to keep moving up the roster to becoming the main event attraction, whether you have the belt or not. So but that's very important when it comes to these false finishes. It's very important. Build, let your career build. Don't be such in a hurry to try to get into the main event type matches right now. Like I always say, right, you go to 12 months of training, and then there's probably a second 12 months, right, of just really cutting your teeth on the indies, just really taking probably like any booking that you can get. There comes a time where you say, well, you've gotten everything you can get out of this show. You're not learning anything anymore. A lot of lucha shows would just book me versus the same person week in, week out, every week. And then it came to the point where it was just like, okay, we did our best of 7, or we did this and we did this angle. Like there's nothing else we can do. Like we need different opponents. So it comes to that time where I say at first, probably take anything you can get. Learn the good, the bad, the ugly about professional wrestling, right? Learn where you go, man, I don't know if I want to work here anymore. This is Bush League, Or, I always say people, sometimes when you don't have a booking and you just want to get on the PWGs or the PCWs out here, sometimes I say cut your teeth in the smaller promotions and see if you can build your way up to become the main event over there, before you're so quick to leave. And I get it, right? Brody and Jake, and I think we got them on last time, get them on this time. They'll talk to you about how to actually make it. They are big ones on saying, I'm not taking that booking no more, and I'm always like, why? I want you to keep cutting your teeth. It does nothing for me. And I'm like, to me in my head as a coach or a trainer, I say, man, I think that came a little too early. Stay in it, cut your teeth a little bit more, but they're doing well for themselves. Sometimes you kind of just have that feeling, and but for that first 12 months out of training, Oh man, I would try to take many bookings as you can. I wouldn't worry about getting paid. I wouldn't worry about getting paid anything. Don't let that be a problem. You know, I actually had one of my students that said, "How come you're not wrestling tonight?" Right? Because it's Friday night, right? We should be wrestling. Oh, you know, I was going to take a booking, but they only offered me $50. Oh, really? And he was like, I was like, how much did you want? He's like, I wanted 80. And I said, well, you shouldn't be sitting at home doing nothing. You know, you should at least go and cut your teeth at a wrestling show. See if they get, hey, maybe they put you in there with a wrestler who's better than you, and you can learn so much, man. They put you in there with somebody like Rocky Romero, and you're like, man, I learned so much, man. Right? F that $50. If you're getting paid in the first year, God bless you. I don't think I got paid for like 2 years in, you know. But I don't want you to think about that as trying to get booked, because you have to say, hey, I want to be able to put my false finishes or my finishes into play. I want to have that opportunity to do that. If I'm sitting at home because I didn't get the pay rate I'm looking for in the first 12 months, you're probably fucking up. You're probably fucking up. After that 12 months and you cut your teeth everywhere and you know it's good, bad, and ugly, then you can start becoming picky and choosy. But if you're sitting on home, man, you'll go to a show and try to, right. You should take that opportunity to try to make that show better. How can you make that show better? You know, how can you put into that show, right? We all want to go to the best show, right? But it's the best show because they already got the best players. So sometimes I always tell people, why don't you go to a smaller show and try to become the lead guy there, or the lead wrestler there? So important, right? So I think that, getting off track there, but just really that first year, you want to cut your teeth on trying all these different moves, different fans. You want to work for different fans. You want to try the different maybe false finishes, see what works and what doesn't work, but don't get caught up in the money aspect of it. Not too early on. I say never, never. Right? Just love what you do, have a passion for it, um, and people will be attracted to that. Right? It's the law of attraction. Is what will start happening to you. You'll get booked. You'll just start loving it, and just you cannot do anything wrong. It's like the tide's turning in the match. The face can't do anything wrong at that point. You know. So, does anybody have any questions on the full comeback or the false finishes? Um, and if you do have a question, good thumbs up. If you don't, just remember, just go ahead and speak out so I can hear it. But yeah, pretty basic right there. If we're in our basic match, we're going from the comeback, taking it home. Either way we look at it, you know, whether I'm in there, you know, and Kristen's like bumping me all over the place. She's the face and I'm the heel. And she's doing her comeback, right? It's like she's doing uh, maybe clothesline, back body drop, you know, big elbow off the top rope, covers me, I kick out, right? That builds at least a false finish on her end, or at least a little attempt. And then I can just beat her, or she could just beat me. But I would say just take it home right there. Take it home when you're early on. Don't worry about the false finishes until you've actually already built finishes down the line. So, you know. So now let's talk about that finish a little bit. Okay, so now we're at the end of the match. And what is the beginning of our climax? The comeback, right? The beginning of the climax is the comeback. So obviously the end of the climax is the finish, right? It's the resolution to our 10 or 20 minutes of fighting, right? The finish is not only the resolution, but should also be the climax of the match. When calling the match, right, we've talked about this from the beginning, that you need to call the end first, okay? It leads you to believe, to know, to show the map of how you're calling the match, okay? And this way the match is okay, but like think about this. So if you have an okay match but a great finish, it's a good match. It's really good, right? You can have a great match and an okay finish, and it was just going to be okay, 100%, right? It's that great movie with a shitty ending. It's an okay movie, but if it's an okay movie with a great ending, it could be a great movie. So at the end of the day, a lot of that focus when you're calling should be on this finish. You know, don't try to overcall too many things. That's why I would go in there and really just know my formula That's why I try to pitch this match breakdown to everybody to really know the formula. What comes first when I'm in the match with Willie? Well, let's establish that face versus heel. I don't have to actually know what sequence of moves that we're going to do or what spot we're going to do. That just starts getting you all mixed up. If you're going to have a spot, get a spot at the end. That way, that climax starts building up, right, to a really great ending. And then everything else can be just really hard hitting wrestling. And maybe you can have a spot, obviously, for the comeback, you know. But yeah, I would really keep your spots to a minimum also, Knowing we're young wrestlers, we're going to go in there and want to do a lot of stuff that we actually see, maybe even see that the Young Bucks do, and because you want to there's a level of difficulty to hit these spots and these sequences, and it makes us feel great to actually do that. So now we've talked about the false finishes and taking it home, how the face would just want to take it home on the finish, but this is pro wrestling. We don't have to just go for the finish, right? Now, when we start getting a little bit more detailed in wrestling, and maybe we're a year or 2, 3 years in, and we've been in some main events, we want to start adding a little salt and pepper into the finishes, right? We have, like, for instance, that dusty finish, and this is what's beautiful about professional wrestling. The dusty finish is when Maxwell is going for his move and he knocks the ref out inadvertently, hitting him, but he hits me with the move and goes for the cover, right? 1, 2. He's counting himself. The drama that is built with that second ref coming in and doing the count, but I still kick out. And maybe I'm inadvertently hitting the ref because we want the hero to kick out. Because that makes us feel something as a fan, puts us on the edge of our seat, But that's what makes wrestling so great. Somebody comes out and hits you in the back with a chair as you're hitting the ropes, and the ref doesn't see it, and that's how you finally lose the match, because you were in your comeback and you can do no wrong, and there was no double, or yeah, maybe we go into a double down. You do your comeback, hit your Falcon Arrow, go for the cover, can't do it, you go for the top rope, and we end up on a double down because maybe we go crashing down off the top rope to the outside of the ring. Now that starts building that match right outside of the ring, right? That's for after intermission and on, if you're booking a show, right? Hey, everybody else, first 3 matches, keep it in the ring. Maybe the third match can go to the top rope, or no, that's for Santos at the main event, right? So now we're tying your hands. So you have to become creative as professional wrestlers. Does it happen too much today? No, because those bookers or promoters aren't giving enough direction. You as a wrestler should be watching every single match, though, and if they're doing a double down, then maybe you should think about taking your double down out. A lot of the times we go, no, we've already called it. We don't want to. We only got 5 minutes. We don't want to recall it. Train your mind to be able to call stuff on the fly, right? And you're only going to be able to really do that, to call it on the fly, is when you're actually able to get into the ring and put all the training into action. That's what's really going to give you that crispness to call it in the ring. But I want you to start thinking about these spots. So if you could think about these spots, because it's like having a playbook, and if you can know your playbook, you'll be able to enter these matches without even talking to your opponent. I don't even have to talk. Who's Livid Zed? Livid Zed? Is that who it is? LVGZ? Like, I don't even have to talk to him in order to tell him what I want to do in my spot. I just have to have it in my head, and I hope that he's a good enough wrestler to follow my direction, or just follow what I'm calling. If I say, hey, up and over, duck a clothesline, give me a clothesline back elbow and a back body drop. You got it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, repeat it to me. And that's how I'll usually do it. I'll call in the ring really quick and see if we can do it.
Hey, Coach, you can still call me Philip.
What's that?
You can still call me Philip.
Philip. All right. I'll call you Philip.
You were close, though. Living Zed.
Oh, of course. LVG, of course. Living Zed. All right. So I'd like to go into my matches not even really thinking about calling stuff with people beforehand. Call it right then and there. Even if I have to break my spot down and just say, okay, duck the clothesline, give me 2. And then as I get up, I'll go into him, feeding him. If I have to throw a couple of punches and say, reverse, give me a back body drop, call it right then and there. And then that way I can put all my focus on remembering my finish, because that's the only thing I can. Man, you're gonna hate it one day, and maybe Hyde and Sage can talk about this because I know I surely can. You're gonna have a great match. You have an incredible match. Everything you're doing is going great, and then the finish just does not hit. It doesn't even. It's like I even like to say in wrestling, I don't like my wrestling so perfect. I like to see it a little rugged, a little struggle involved. But maybe in this distance, it just looked like I tried to lift the person and I couldn't, and then they tried to jump back up without me lifting, and our timing was off, and we kind of exposed the business. Have you ever had a great match, Hyde or Sage, and then the finish just went to shit? Has that ever happened to you?
I think we're all guilty of one of those. If you haven't had one of those, you're not a wrestler, because it, like you said, it cuts your teeth. Let's see, I'm trying to think of one of the many. You don't want to say it happens a lot, but it kind of does. I remember when I got to finally go out to GCW and they had me work Sexy Eddie. We had a great match. At the end, I'm supposed to choke slam him through the thumbtacks, and he jumped kind of early, so it looked really botchy. And I think I choke slammed him 3 times to make up for it. But it was just that's not the fucking finish you want. You know what I mean? You want it to look clean.
Yeah, and that's what you're gonna be going through. To just have that feeling of like I almost had it, right? I didn't get it perfect. I'm gonna have to go out there and try it. And the reality of it is not like an obstacle course. You can't just try it again. That match is gone. You can maybe you're lucky enough to have another match the next day, the next week, the next month, whatever it is, but that match is gone. It's finished. It's not coming back. It's probably on video. Maybe someone's laughing at it, and you just got to take it, right? And just take it with stride. Take it with stride and just learn to fix it, right? So I always tell everybody, right, is there's no use in yelling at that point and say, you fucked up the finish, Sage. Just say, do you know what you did wrong? Yeah, my timing, my footwork, this, whatever was off. All right, just let's fix it and let's get it again, right? Because we're all in there just trying to have a great production, you know? How about you, Hyde? Has that ever happened to you? Have a great match and the finish went to shit.
Yep. I was facing Juan or player 2 from I forgot their tag team name, but the match was going good. We were the main event. It was going good, and then I hit my finish, Trouble in Paradise, and I completely missed, and it looked like I gave him a spinning forearm, but
What is the Trouble in Paradise?
the Kofi Kingston, the 360 roundhouse.
Oh, okay. All
And
right.
after that, I was like, I'm not gonna do that move because I don't do it well, and that's when I started doing started thinking of other moves I needed to do because I didn't know what moves to what move would fit in there. But the match was going fucking great, and then the finish happened, and then I won, but no one was they were a little bit because it was fuck.
That's where those wins and losses in pro wrestling, that's why it really doesn't matter because you're like, I don't care if I
Yeah.
won, man. That shit,
Oh
no,
yeah.
right? No one cared. No one appreciated my match. No one's talking about it. God damn, you go out there and you're gonna cut your teeth, right? You'll hear stories of even Joey Janela saying that I flew myself or drove to Houston to WrestleMania weekend and I couldn't get on one show. Now the dude's running the best show at WrestleMania weekend. You know what I mean? And it's just stuff like that is going to happen where just it's not going to go your way, but you have to just keep cutting your teeth, right? Get up, dust your shoulders off, and do it again. And I think that's very important, right? Because I think a lot of your family members, a lot of your friends will ask you about your win-loss record, and it's that doesn't matter really. It's about the performance. It's about the art that I'm putting in. It's about how I had the crowd like this. And then my finish just fell to shit, and they were they gave me the golf clap, out of respect, because they're so nice. I think the fans today are really nice. I really do, and that's good for you as coming in as new wrestlers. That doesn't mean they're ultra nice, but we came in, or at least when I say we, I was always talking about me and Supreme. When we came in, it was we were that shithead ECW fan. That would know we knew a little bit about wrestling, so we would go to the wrestling shows and try to call spots on people, and they'd be pissed at us. But the fans back in the day were so relentless, right? The "you fucked up" chants, right, in unison. same old shit chance, right? When you're doing the same thing that you've either been doing or the same thing that they did in the last match. But yeah, the fans were just so relentless. I think today I don't wrestle in front of them as much. But I think
Coach,
yes.
it wasn't the finish, but like what happened to Matt Seidel where he went to do his moonsault and he totally
Oh,
botched that one.
on a
But then
debut.
they on the debut, so it was like a huge deal for him and how they were going to portray him probably as a character.
Has he
And
been back since?
they fixed it by having a behind the scenes story with Michael Nakazawa. He had ended up like putting oil on the ropes and they but that was like a cover story after the fact, I think, that they came up with after he'd had a real botch. How often do you fix a botch like that storyline wise to make it part of the story?
Well, that's pretty damn creative, you know.
Yeah, I was amazed by it. I was like, I like that. I thought it was really cool. So
It doesn't take away from Matt Seidel from what he felt and how he still feels. Like that's just, geez, right? That's like nearly going into the finish and it just shit in the bed, right? But this is a debut, the one move that you're gonna do. Um, Yeah, how often do they go in there and fix it? Like not often, right? We all know about the Shockmaster, because a lot, especially these days, right? It's not going to be fixed. I think there was a time in I don't know 2000s to 2015 maybe there was a lot, right? There's a lot of DVD tapings and stuff like that where you can actually go back and fix stuff on video, re-edit it better. That's why Sage would say you would do the choke slam 3 times, because then if they wanted to in the DVD, they can cut that first one out and just show that second one that was perfect. And that's, as a wrestler, that's what we're praying and hoping they do. A lot of times they don't do it. You're like, what the hell, man? What are they doing?
I guess rather than fix it, I mean, like, do they use it in a story where, like Hyde missing his kick, should the opponent have made it look like he missed and gone with it and rolled and like kind of adjusted the story from that point, or
No, I think you're just
no?
you're done at that point. Yeah, it's a botch. It's going to end up on bet. Hey, maybe you're blessed to end up on Botchmania, right? Give you some name value. Not for the right. Bad publicity is still good publicity, right? Any publicity. But and Hyde will tell you this, and maybe Sage will tell you this, is that I tell my wrestlers, like, if they ever do a botch or there's a move, I'll come to you and say, well, how many times have you tried that? I tried it 3 times in training. 3 times. You should have tried it 103 times, really, before you go out there, so you don't have that problem in botch. You know what I mean? You have to be able to hit it at every different angle on every different opponent, right? Some opponents might just put their hands out and block. Some opponents might not put their head up, and it'll teach you, like, oh man, I almost kicked his teeth in. It'll teach you how to control your leg. Some people might hit it perfect, but like I always say, lean in so you can reach out, but always trying it with so many different wrestlers, so many different times before you really want to debut moves. Because we'll do that in training. We're going to roll. I don't even know. The first day, it's going to be 100 plus rolls. Maybe like I say 100 plus, it's probably going to be like 300. I don't know. It's a lot of rolls that you're doing, and you wouldn't understand how tiring an actual roll is. If you're wanting to get in shape and you can roll or do a somersault or anything like that where you can get back to your feet, I would suggest doing that, especially for pro wrestling training. Which brings me up to, before I forget, the deck of cards workout. And I have it written down, and that's going to be the new workout. And I hope everyone that is at least trying those workouts to prepare your body. You can be hitting the weights. You can come in incredibly great shape in professional wrestling. And if you gas out or blow up, I always like to say blow up, but no one knows what I mean. It means gas out. Blow up in pro wrestling, like you don't even want to do it anymore. It sucks. You just want to go home and not play. It's no fun. It's no fun coughing up a lung. So like I'll give you that deck of card workout to put in. But that's what we do in training, is that you should do the rolls, right? Forward roll, back roll. Maybe the quarter roll might be too too much technique for you to do right now. But just do those rolls. And in order for you to get out and be able to do the rolls or be able to do the bumps, like you're doing these bumps, bump in, bump out, bump in, bump out, bump in. And I hate doing so many bumps, especially as beginners. Like I really not, I don't try to, we don't even really do the, we do the bump drill where we stand in the middle of the ring and take a bump. And we do that. But once you have it, I take you off of that and I say, okay, well, let's throw a clothesline instead. I really feel that you do have a bump card, and it will come up one day. You know, knock on wood, mine has not come up yet, but I haven't taken as many bumps probably as even some of my students. And it will come up. So I always like to say, like, never, I don't like to stand in the middle because we don't ever do that in a match. We don't stand in the middle and then just take a bump. We'll either take a clothesline if we're standing in the middle. So let's actually practice that. But we're going to do that over and over and over and over again. So if you're going to try a new move, in order not to be on Botchmania and be known for all the wrong reasons, and maybe to have the whole crowd say, you fucked up. Oh my God, that's a terrible fucking feeling. That is a terrible feeling. Practice your moves. Practice your moves over and over and over again until you cannot get it wrong. Unconscious competence. You can hit that move any which way on anybody, you know? I remember there was a time, and there's actually a really cool, I don't have it up. I used to have it up in my office. A really cool picture where I pinned my buddy Angel Face Chavez, and I put my knee over him and I flexed, and they took a picture as the referee's counting, and they put it in a calendar, and now it became my favorite picture. I put it up in my office and stuff. And Angel's just sitting there, just all like laid out. And the reason this happened was because we wrestled the match, and he tried to do a move. And honestly, in hindsight, it wasn't even his fault. There was a scaffold in the way, but it made him go into a different direction, which made it look like he fucked up the move. And the entire crowd chanted, "You fucked up." And I was so mad. It was one of these matches that was, everything was going perfect, and it was like, it was money in the bank. And I heard that, and I didn't see what happened. I was just laying there. He said, just lay there. I think in my head was, he was going to guillotine me. I just heard them start chanting, "You fucked up." And I was like, not in my match. I was so pissed. I think we had like a whole sequence left. And they were chanting. I was so mad at John because I was like, you did it. Because I'm just standing there. You did it. And so I grab him. I kick him in the gut. And I said, we're taking it home. And I think that was the first time I did the Gonzo Bomb. But we had practiced it. But I hit him with the move. And then to even disrespect him more because I was so fucking pissed, I pinned him without even hooking the leg, right? You'll see people pin without hooking the leg. That's just a pin, right? No, I put my knee on him and posed as I was pinning him like I was the Ultimate Warrior on Macho Man. And that's because they chanted, "You fucked up." Hindsight, I looked at the video and I said, he didn't even fuck up. It just looked, he just redirection because he was going to hit the scaffold. But everything was done. The picture was taken. I took it home early. They said, "You fucked up." But man, it's gonna piss you off if anyone ever says you fucked up in a match, and I hope they never have to. But the way to avoid that, train your ass off, put in the work, you know, right? We're never complaining about somebody we're watching on TV. We're figuring out how we can get on TV and make their television better if we are better, right? You know, I actually had a student who said, he hit me up and said, Jake is terrible at promos because you don't value a promo, and he sucks and this, that, and the other. I said, hey, why you hate Jake Atlas, man? I said, hey, listen, it's real simple. All you got to do is get signed to NXT and give a better promo. There's no reason to complain that he's terrible, whatever your opinion is, right? It's subjective, especially us. Don't waste any time doing that. Make it better. Put in the work. Train. You know, the undocumented hours of training is where the champions are made, right? Where we're not even taking pictures for Instagram or anything like that. We're just putting in the work because we want to be the best. We don't just want to be on Raw. We don't just want to be the women's champion or the main champion or the tag champion or the intercontinental champion. No, we want to be the fucking best intercontinental champion. At least that should be the mindset that you have going into this, because it is so competitive in professional wrestling. And so you have to put in that work. And I know I'm getting a little bit off again, but that goes on the training over and over so we don't have a botched finish, you know? so we don't end up on there, right? Just really figuring it out on how we're going to get through our match and finish it and become a student of this game, right? So, and this is what I tell everybody, even when it's physical training or even if it's online like we're doing right now, class doesn't end or just happen the hours of 6 to 8 p.m., here in California, right? No, after you're done, you should study your notes, right? Because you have notes to study from. You should then easily turn on some matches and start watching some of these matches, start finding some of these formulas, right? Not every match is going to be like this formula, and we don't want every match to be like, right? That's where it becomes be creative, but you have to study this and become a student of the game. You have to turn on the promos. How do I do a promo, right? We'll teach you how to do a promo, but you should already know how to do a promo. Why? Oh, because I watched hours among hours among hours. How do you become the best promo? Practice it, right? You can't just hope that you went to wrestling school and they told you how to do a promo, right? They give you right? There's going to come times where you do a match and you do everything right. You did the cutoff right. You worked the body part. You gave the heat. You did everything right, and everyone had their hands and they sat on their hands. Or they grabbed their phone and they were just on their phone and you just saw glows of light all through the crowd because no one was paying attention to your match. And it's going to happen. That's going to happen. So how do we get better? Just really studying, watching the greats. I say watch the good, bad, and the ugly because we are fans and we know it's good wrestling. We know it's great wrestling. We know it's okay wrestling, mediocre. And then I challenge you to take it a step further, right? Who is everybody watching, right? So if you ever think, oh, everyone's maybe watching or talking about Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho, I challenge you to look up other people. Watch Perry Saturn's matches, right? Don't go with the idea, oh, he sucked, whatever. He didn't. He was incredible. And he was innovative. Him and Cronus too, especially as the eliminators. Like, look up people that people aren't talking about, right? If you don't hear anyone talking about Billy Robinson, they should. And you should write that down and look up Billy Robinson tonight and watch Billy Robinson's wrestling. And you're going to go, wait a second here. He was doing all this modern wrestling way back when. Yeah, because everything is pretty much recycled in professional wrestling. So you have to be a student of the game. It's not just here Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday in class. It should consume your mind and consume your soul in everything that we do. So a couple of notes here for the full comeback, right? The comeback is the start of the finish, right? It's also the start of the climax. The tables turn into the face's favor. The face fires up with each move they do, right? As if they have a power meter and they're about to explode to hit their finish. Make sure to add heel hope, right? I think heel hope is so important and really never talked about. No one's ever talked to me about it. I just said, hey, I think this needs to be talked about in wrestling, right? So that way the heel's not just taking moves, they're actually showing that they want to attempt moves, but maybe they get countered, so you have to have that good amount of heel hope involved in it, right? Hope that makes us believe that the heel can gain control again because we've seen it happen in the match on the false comeback. So maybe this is just a big false comeback. Why? We want to make the fans actually believe that the face can still lose. You ever watching your team play football? Man, they might be up by 2 touchdowns in the fourth. You're like, hey, they could still lose. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the idea that we want to drive home. Each move a face gives in the comeback should be more exciting than the next, leading up to the climax, aka the finisher, or leading up to the finish of the climax, I should say. And then the notes on the finish, right? The finish is the climax, and the finish can be a spot. It can be a single move. Obviously, it can be a roll-up, a DQ. It could be a smaj. It could be a count-out, depending on what you want to try to get over, right? And that's the beauty of wrestling, right? Wins and losses, that's cool to have a clean win, clean loss, clean win, clean loss. And I think you need that in professional wrestling. But in pro wrestling, we always want to swerve them a little bit. So now that we have all these clean wins and losses, let's have some interference. And that's what makes pro wrestling what it is, is that it's more colorful, larger than life, right? I always say, don't use the chair in pro wrestling, right? Don't hit each other over the head with the chair. Use the chair. Bring it. Make sure it's a part of the match. Maybe you swing and the person ducks, and then the referee grabs it out of the hand, and referee turns his back and puts the chair over here, and now you hit him, with a cheap move, or you grab another chair and you hit him in his back. Because I would say hit in the back, not in the head. Right, and you throw the chair away, and the ref never saw it. That builds that drama of pro wrestling. So our finish can be anything we can creatively make it. And thinking about the same thing. Does it look good? Does it make sense? Is it safe? And if you could say, yeah, then let's create that finish. We don't want to have the same finish that everybody has, right? The possibility to the finish are endless, and they should be endless, right? All the outcomes, in every pro wrestling match, right? Everything is just a little bit recycled from yesteryear, but the possibilities are endless to really turn it any which way you really want to go. So does anyone have any questions, comments on the full comeback or the finish in the match breakdown? I see Sage.
Somebody has a question actually more revolving the finish. They can go ahead, because mine's more related to like making sure basically if the promoter's not being like organized with what they want out of everybody, how you go about kind of calling that finish amongst everybody so everyone's not doing the same match, the same spots, the same finish, etc., etc. Because I mean, yeah, you have those respectful people that will ask like, hey, do you mind if I do this move? Are you doing that? So and so. But for the most part, nothing's more frustrating than seeing the same match over and over again all night.
I think you answered your own question right there, right? So I remember watching the movie The Wrestler, and I don't know, when it came out, I don't know, I think I was still in kayfabe mode, and I didn't like it. I watched it years later, and I was like, this is a great movie, obviously it's a great movie. But one of the scenes that I remember that happened in there, they were like, hey man, you gonna work the leg? Oh yeah, you're working the leg? All right, so I'll work the shoulder. And I was like, that's, at the time when I first watched it, that's the stupidest thing. We don't do that in wrestling, but you should. You really should do that. And Sage, I think you answered your own question in that. And so that way your wrestling is different. Maybe you can stand out from the rest, right? Like Kurt Angle, right? Kurt Angle maybe he didn't ask any. I don't know if he did, but I know that for a fact that he watched all the matches. So that way he didn't want to copy anything or do any of the same moves. But maybe if you don't have the opportunity, especially on the independent level from a beginner standpoint, there's probably not going to be a monitor in the back, and maybe if they're strict enough, they're going to say, don't even peek your head through the curtain or whatever the case is. But so you'll have to do what Sage said. Say, hey, I'm working the back. Is anybody working the back today? Are you working the back? Asking them. Most people say, no, I'm just doing moves. I'm just doing a sequence of moves. And I think that's a really great idea to do. And just to really ask who's working what. And I think if you do it, Sage, if you said that, as soon as you left me, I'd go, oh man, she's working the fucking back. Well, maybe I should up my. It would pump me up to want to probably do that too, because I would probably catch on like, oh, she doesn't want to be the same as anybody else. All right, well, I'm gonna work the neck or the arm or this. It'd probably inspire me to do that. To be honest with you, so I think that would be good, and it's also creating good habits. Because whoever's in the back, and they're new and they look up to you, they're going to start doing that same thing, without you knowing about it, right? The respect is earned by your example. And I think that's what would start building if you did that. So I think that answers your own question there.
Ruby, thank you.
Any other questions that anybody has on the finish, the comeback, calling of the match?
Oh, is it okay if I share an instance kind of similar to what you guys were talking about a good match with a botched finish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. Basically, it was a couple years ago. It was one of the, I think it was a Black Friday match. And I was up against Ray Rosas. And it, basically, this was, I thought of this match as like, oh, I'm finally going to kind of step it up because Ray's giving me a chance. And basically the match went pretty decent for what it was because I was still relatively new, and I set him up for a powerbomb. And my first mistake was agreeing to doing the powerbomb in the first place because, as you'd mentioned, or at least moves that aren't really practiced beforehand aren't really going to work out well. And I only agreed to it, nod my head, and be like, yeah, I could do a powerbomb because I was afraid of disappointing him. And I figured, you know what, I've improvised moves, being able to pull them off before. Why not? And so there were a lot of things wrong. My footing was off. My core wasn't as strong as it can be, and so I ended up buckling. But what was interesting is also when you mentioned about cutting one's teeth, that recovering from that botch, basically it gave me an opportunity to call a quick way to get into race finish. So it had an upside.
Right. I mean, of course, right. So we don't ever want to mess up in a match, but we also have to understand that these mistakes and these failures that we have, right? We failed to do the power bomb. It teaches us, right? And that's the roadmap to success, you know. And so I think you have to be a smart enough wrestler like you are, Kristen, to understand. Okay, I messed that up. I'll either gonna practice that power bomb over and over again, or I'm not. I'm gonna speak up and say, no, I'd rather do a different move because I don't think I can get you up. And then I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think any wrestler is going to say, oh, you're disappointing me, because I would say, oh, thank you for letting me know, because I don't want to get dropped to my head either, you know? So I think it's very important to just go ahead and speak up. And I know that feeling that you have. Like, I would tell people the same thing. You ever take this move? Oh, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I would never say no to anything. You want to do this? Get power bombed off the top of the the turnbuckle onto the ground, and miss the table onto the concrete. Oh, hell yeah, I want to do that, right? You just say it because you don't want to disappoint. When Supreme gave me that actual move, that was what was going through my mind, was that I didn't want to disappoint him and say no. And I was scared the whole month going up into that match, because he had told me what we were going to do. He's going to powerbomb me off the top to the outside. And I did that. Maybe I should have spoken up, but I think it also, well, the way I took it was, it made me tougher, right? It made me extremely tougher, right? I don't think you need to be that tough to take a power bomb to the ground. Maybe that's just silliness. So, but yeah, so I think going back to your point, Kristen, I think it really does teach you what to do. And then it probably even ups your ante a little bit in order to come up with that finish on a moment's notice, you know? And I can only imagine, right? Wrestling Ray Rosas, right at the time he was training you, you know, very decorated Southern California wrestler, and you want to be able to keep up. You want to tell yourself that I want to know if I can keep up with this person, you know. That's the same thing that I would go through. I think a lot of wrestlers go through, right? I got in the ring with Christopher Daniels. Oh, I want to know if I can keep up with this guy. And he would just call it in the ring, boom, 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 boom. And I wasn't calling it, but I had pride that I didn't mess anything up, and I was able to keep up with him, you know. And then I also wanted to talk to you guys about Sarsa. Sarsa, I know you probably have seen it written down in the notes. Sarsa in pro wrestling is something that Eric Bischoff came up with when he was booking WCW, right? And what does Sarsa stand for? Story, anticipation, reality, suspense, and action. Story, anticipation, reality, suspense, and action. Okay, so just like the 5 elements to a story, right? Character, setting, climax, resolution, right? We want to have all those elements in our match. We also want to have all of these elements in our match. Obviously, the first one that he has written down is story. The only guy in history to knock Vince McMahon off his pedestal in the Monday Night Wars. And the guy is telling you story is so important, you know? The second one, anticipation, right? Your match should have the anticipation of your opponent, you know, so the anticipation that they can win, the anticipation that they can lose, right? Mm-hmm. Anticipation of, is Supreme really going to power bomb him on the top to the outside onto a table? You know, we all build that anticipation. If we understand that, then we could switch it, you know? So if we can build that in a match, then that's going to be an element that's going to be towards a great match, right? Obviously, reality. We want to make sure that in the realm, I'm going to always say in the realm of pro wrestling, this can really happen, right? Because if you say it has to be real, then we wouldn't run the ropes and we wouldn't go to the top rope, among a lot of other things, you know. So in the realm of pro wrestling, do you have reality, right? Does it make sense on what you're doing? Is the climax suspenseful, right? Is the finish suspenseful? That's when it gets to these main event matches. It's suspenseful. Maybe we take away the false finishes. Can you still make it suspenseful? Of course you can. You know, you can attempt moves, never hit them. Put that visual into the audience's mind that you want to hit the powerbomb, but you pick them up and they roll around you, and maybe they give you a small cradle or whatever the case is, or land on their feet, and you never hit that move. So it's so important. Does your finish, does the entire match, is it suspenseful? Is during the heat, is it suspenseful that the hope is the face can really come back in that hope spot, right? Oh, he almost did, leaving me on the suspense. And then obviously every single match will most likely have what? Action. That's probably a given, right? You're already going to wrestling school. You're going to have a plethora of moves that you want to do. So you're going to have that. So you want to make sure that your match, right, you have the match breakdown, you're putting the story elements into it, right? How do we put the story elements into it? Breaking it down, but then also having Sarsa in every single match that you do. Taking the time to think about your matches, right? Really studying them. Even if you have to write it down. And I would suggest, I think I've already told you, right? Get a book, and write these ideas down. And when we get a chance to go over some matches, that's exactly what we'll do. We will write everything down. So, and we talked about calling matches, and maybe we'll call one right now, and we'll call one. I'm gonna call one with Sage. So, I'm gonna be the heel, Sage, and you're gonna be the face. Okay, and so we're gonna try to put these elements in there. We won't really know like the idea of the Sarsa until we actually see the match. We can try to implement it as we speak about it, but on the other hand, we can make sure that we hit all the elements of the match breakdown. Okay, and then it's what we'll do starting tomorrow is we'll start calling it with everybody and how to call it. So Sage, let us go through with. How about, okay, we're going to go, and this is what I always say to the students. I always say, all right, if you're a coach here, right, you don't lose to any of the students until they've already made their debut, right? Because they might quit on us, and then, like, there's a guy that has he beat Brody King in a training match, and it's still on YouTube, so he can tell all his friends, oh, I beat this guy, it's on Ring of Honor, So in this instance, we're going to say, okay, I'm going to win the match, Sage, okay? Let's say, what 2 moves do you want to do?
Just general moves. Let's go.
Think of one that could be a finish or a false finish.
We'll go for a nice DDT.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go crossbody DDT. So
crossbody and DDT. Okay, and those are perfect, right? Those are, and maybe we should talk about that a little bit too. Face moves, like crossbody, drop kick, arm drag, hip toss. Like those are really always considered face moves. I don't know. What do you guys see, Sage and Hyde? Do you consider those face moves? Right there.
Yeah.
Do you?
It's more hope move. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird to see like a heel pull off a crossbody unless they're being like a dick about it. You know what I mean?
It's flashy. Right, maybe the heel hits the crossbody if you're gonna counter me, you can counter me and roll my leg over, and now you got the pin, and it's a false finish 1-2 kick out, right? It backfired on the heel. I think we could do that. Heel can try a drop kick, but maybe miss, something like that, right? Because the face does it, now the heel tries it. So thinking about that, like, right, the aggressive moves can be face moves, but also are considered heel moves, right? What's an aggressive move? Right? Power bomb is fucking aggressive. Can be a face move. Can be 100%, right? But I like to say a drop kick and a crossbody would would be a face, 100%, right? I'm really trying to break it down to you on white hat, black hat, you know. So just really thinking about that, and then when you wrestle by numbers. So if you're ever the heel, right, I wouldn't say do those moves. But so in this situation, Sage is going to be the face. She's going to do the DDT, and she's going to do the crossbody. And then so what I will do is, okay, we've talked about the Gonzo Bomb, which is a pick you up into a power bomb position, but end you into a pile driver position. So I'll do the Gonzo Bomb, and that will be the finish. And I will have a I don't know. You give me another move, Sage.
Mhm.
It could be anything.
If I have a crossbody, can you just have a punch, or is that too basic?
I mean, you could give me a punch. I'd like to have something else. How about a I'm trying to think. How about a DVD? Man, that's like a really powerful move, but I guess we can do it. You know, how about a DVD?
Which one's that one?
Death Valley Driver.
Oh, okay.
So it got you on my shoulders like a fireman's carry, and it puts you over. Right. I think that's too powerful, to be honest with you, but we could still make it happen. Okay.
Fireman's carry.
Right. Well, it's kind of like even I could even do the John Cena thing, but that's like a face thing. Okay. So we have 4 moves, right? So we have a crossbody, and we have the DDT. Okay. We know that the Gonzo Bomb is going to be the finish. So what I want to say is that I think I want to work your neck in the heat. Obviously, you know, that's the way I want to take it. We can even change the Gonzo to a neck breaker if you wanted to, but we'll keep it for this instance. So I want to work your neck, and then you have a crossbody and a DDT. So I would say that the crossbody. Okay, we're gonna keep the crossbody, and the DDT is gonna be in your comeback. Okay, so what does that leave you to do? What does that leave you to do for the shine, Sage? Right. So we'll break it down right now. So we'll come into the ring. Obviously, we want to establish face and heel. I want to come out, maybe getting that cheap heat, doing this to the crowd, right? I'm flipping them off. Maybe Sage is more about it. Maybe she's coming out with her pumpkin and passing out candy, and everyone's getting with that. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? So we want to establish face versus heel right from the go. And let's say, for instance, we're gonna lock up, and I like to always believe it's wrestler versus wrestler, because if I wrestled Eli Everfly, I mean, he's like 130 pounds, like, you know what I mean? So I don't really look at it as the female versus male, and then maybe that's because the girls go through the rigorous training everybody does. So in that instance, we're gonna lock up, and remember, I'm gonna make sure that I have to give you a strong lockup, and I'm gonna give you the formula right now. Just out wrestle me. I will get very little moves, but everything you put me in, Sage, I'm going to go for the rope. I'm not going to out wrestle you. I'm going to go for the rope, make the rope break it. I'm going to complain that you're pulling my tights, you're pulling my hair, you're doing all this and that. I want to throw all these antics in there to really what? Establish that I'm the heel, and she's establishing his face. She's like, I didn't do anything, So as we do that, maybe she's going to out wrestle me as the start of her shine, right? And so she's doing it. She's wrestling me, right? We lock up. I put her in a headlock, right? I grab her hair and I put her in a headlock right from the go, and I have it, and I have her in the headlock, and I'm looking around like I got this, and then all of a sudden she's quick, she's smaller, she's quicker than me, she's more witty, and she slips out of the headlock and puts me in a headlock, and I start complaining, right? Go over there, grab that rope, pulling my hair, Rev, all right? Because I pulled the hair. She's pulling my hair. Stop, have her pulling my hair, right? Break up. I get in the ref's face, really yelling at the ref. Now, I mean, just visually, you're looking at who the asshole is, Maybe we lock up against Sage, and I grab your hair and pull it back, right? Because I'm still on that. You pulled my hair in the headlock. So now I'm pulling it blatantly, really showing the ref. And you're just like, you're holding in. The referee's trying to break it. 1, 2, 1, 2. We can lock up again. And I can grab I can grab a headlock again, You slip out of it. Now you do 1-2 move, right? You slip out of it, put me in a hammerlock, put me in a headlock, spin again, drop toe hold me, bam. I crawl to the rope. You have me in the drop toe hold, and I'm saying, let me go, begging for mercy, and he breaks the hold, right? Then I want to get to a point where let's lock up again. You out wrestle me instead of me going to the rope. You out wrestle me. You can do, top wrist lock, arm wringer, hammer lock, whatever the case is. And as soon as you get me in that arm wringer, whatever, as soon as I see that opening, I'm gonna just punch you right in the face, right in the middle of a wrestling match. Right? We were just wrestling, and since I'm showing everybody that I can't out wrestle you because I keep going to the ropes, now I just punched you in the face, and I'm hoping that's gonna generate some more heat. We don't have any moves for Sage to do, but what we can do is we can do punches. And since Sage is the face, and I would say don't be the first person to punch if you're a face, right? Let it be justified. So we're gonna justify it because I punched her right in the face because she out wrestled me, right? So I'll punch her in the face. I'll pick her up. I'll maybe give her a throat chop. Maybe I'll give her a real chop. I could even smash her head into the turnbuckle. But then what I'm going to do is, right, maybe we'll go right to that up and over. I'll whip her into the corner. She goes up and over, right? I turn around. I see that. I can hit the turnbuckle. I turn around, see that. I go for the clothesline, right? Still some heel hope. She ducks. Turn around again. I throw a punch. She blocks it, hits me. Throw a punch. She blocks it, hits me. I throw a punch, hits me all the way back to the rope. And I have a unique style where she could punch me and I'll go straight over the top rope easily. No one even has to touch me, right? She just throw me that punch, Sage, boom, and I'll go over the top rope backwards. I'll hit my head on the apron. Boom, you power up. Like, get everybody into it. That'll be your shine. Okay, right? Because and the reason being, right? We can add a bunch of moves, but I'm just really trying to emphasize the less is more. So now she cheers. She's got everybody into it, right? She goes over. The referee says, "Get back." I'm counting him, but she's like pumped. So she kind of moves out to the other side of the ring to go out and get me. And maybe she even leans over the rope, and I can grab her by the throat and pull her down, right? Boom, right here. Maybe now I see blood. I'm the shark that sees blood in the water, and I see her now holding her throat, right? So now that can visually show someone holding her throat. Now I'm going to go work on her neck, really, right? Front or back, I can count it. So now I'm going to go to work on her neck. I only have 2 moves. What moves did I have against Sage?
Your Gonzo and then your Death Valley.
Oh, geez, that's such a huge move. Okay,
We
Death
could
Valley.
change it to the neck breaker.
No, I think the neck breaker is too heroic, to be honest with you. We do
Like a
Spinebuster.
stab.
I think Spinebuster is a lot better, and I think I can see you in agony. So we're gonna change it to Spinebuster, but I don't even need that move right now because I'm not gonna hit any of these moves in the heat. All I have to think about right now is just beating up her neck, right? And I am not giving heat. I am getting heat from the crowd, yelling at the crowd, or even if it's the television audience, obviously, because that's what's going on now. I am trying to get heat through that camera. I'm pulling back. I got her hands on the apron and her neck right there touching the bottom back rope, and I'm pulling back on it while the referee is relentlessly counting. And I'll maybe tell my ref, don't count me down, just go 1, 2, 3, 4, try to break, and I'll make sure to release by then. I won't let you do the 1, 2, 3, 4, just to show that I'm real, that I'm grinding into her, really trying to get that heat, pulling her nose up, really right there, just really working that neck, stomping on her neck, just clubbing her neck, just really working her neck. Maybe we work our way to the apron and I could pull her neck over the metal turnbuckle and snap it back, right? And she goes tumbling to the outside. Just all I got to do is beat up her neck. In the meantime, she's got to stay alive, right? Every 4 hits, she has to stay alive. So she has to register a comeback. And then what I'll do as a heel, once she punches me and hits me, I'll stat her back and say, it's up to you if you're going to throw a second one. I'll give you that opening, right? So I'll never get hit and then hit her back. That's not true. I will do that, probably in the middle of the heat. But if she's trying to come back, I'll let her break it open. Hit me again. Hit me again. Hit me again. And I'll just say, fire up on me, fire up on me, fire up on me. And then all I have to do is throat choke her again. She can go down, right? Because I've already established that I'm hurting the neck. You know, so that builds a little bit of her comeback. And I would probably just call all that in the ring for you, Sage. And then what I'd like to do though in one of your hopes is I'd like you to build it up enough to where you grab that DDT, and then the way I'm looking at it, I hold the rope, you go for the DDT, you just end up taking the bump. So like that way we can build this move so when you hit it later, hopefully everyone goes apeshit. You know, so and easily with the way that we can do that, I could throw you into the corner, I come running at you, give me the back elbow, boom, I sell it, I come running at you again, give me the boot, boom, I could sell it. Let me see. Easy. I give you a clothesline. You catch it, right? Go under. Boom. You're hooked in right into the DDT. Make sure we're by the ropes, or I'll make sure we're by the ropes. You go for it. You call it. You go for it. False comeback, right? I'll hold the rope. You take the bump. Oh, and you don't sell the back. You actually sell that neck. Like, oh my God. That damaged me so much, right? So now we build that up. So we set that up for later for your big comeback. And your big comeback, right, it's going to be a crossbody. So how about as simple as this, when we're ready to do the comeback, for however much time they give us, I'm going to put you to the top rope, like I'm going to superplex you, not Gonzo Bomb, brainbuster you from the top rope, and you will do the sequence we talked about earlier. We'll punch me. You could throw me off, okay? And just to add some more dramatics into it, I'll take the bump. I'll get up. Maybe I can strike you. That's just adding dramatics in there. I could strike you, go for it again. You could hit me down. I come running at you. Give me the boot. I stumble to the middle. Now you stand back up. Big cross body. I turn around. Boom. You hit me with it. You can either go for the cover because we can count that as a false finish, right? Because then we want to maybe give you 2 false finishes in this match. Boom. You hit that big cross body. Cover. 1, 2. Big kick out. Oh shit. I kick out. You're in control. You're like, I gotta up the ante. You go in again. You grab that DDT for the second time now, right? The first time you crash and burn. Second time, I'm gonna peel out. Maybe I'll duck your line. I'll donkey kick you from behind. Put you in for the Gonzo Bomb. Pick you up. You fly down behind me. You could fly down behind me, and as soon as I turn around, kick me in the stomach. Hook it in right in the middle of the ring. Boom, DDT. Right, and so what I also did at that point was I set up my finish to show you I went for it, you know, so that because I'm gonna hit it later. She hits that DDT, you know, she could even now if she wants to save face a little bit, she'll hit that DDT and kill a second 1,000, 2. Now go for the cover, and people would say those were the precious seconds. If she would have just covered, if her right. She would hit that DT and sell her neck. Oh, and then the commentators will go, oh, she needs to make the cover. She needs to make the cover. I come over, or she comes over, pins me 1, 2, 2.93664, and then I kick out. Oh, my God. Now she's like, God damn, right? Because hopefully she's established that DDT as a finish. And she's like, damn, what next? Got to up the ante. So she picks me up. And in that turn of events of picking me up, we can have the spot of taking it home, you know. I can either cut her off right there. I would like her to actually go for a third move. And what would be your third move that you would try to do, but you're not going to hit because I'm going to hit you with the gonzo. I'm going to counter it and hit you with the gonzo.
Just add an extra move because actually I would probably try to pull you up to the top to get the DDT off the top ropes, like a swinging DDT. You know, something bigger.
I love it. So you do that. And you swing, and let's take some time there because I don't want to just come back like a hero after you hit me with that DDT. So you hit that DDT, you kill 1,000, 2, 1,000. Now you crawl over, you're killing another second. You go for the cover, so it's already like that was already a 3 count, right? That's what to save face a little bit. Kick out. Now you're surprised. Oh my God, what do I do? You're killing precious time, giving me enough time to make the comeback. You set me up. You pull me in for that swinging DDT. You go for it. I spin. I could throw you off. And then I can, right there, boom, you get up. You could sell. I actually probably would like to hurt your neck, but we don't have another move, so I'll just throw you off. You could sell. If you do me that favor and sell your neck on that, you're going to do a face bump, but just sell that neck like, oh, like your whiplash. I'll pick you up, boot you, pick you up, Gonzo Bomb, cover, 1, 2, 3. Right, so we try to add all those elements: story, anticipation, reality, suspense, action, all those elements into our match, right? And we only used 4 moves. We attempted a couple of different moves, and you could attempt more moves but maybe never hit them, and that shows you that less is more goes a long way, and so that's the way I would probably call a match. I broke it down really extreme for you. If I was calling it with her, I would say just give her the spots that we do, but at the same time, I like to go out there and just really perform. So if I know she's got it right, she's got to have hope, she can't just take heat for 4 minutes, then I'm going to call a lot of that stuff in that ring. And I think that if she's able to follow my lead, that's gonna give her that same euphoria that I had when I wrestled Chris Daniels. And I didn't call anything. I was able to keep up with everything he said. Boom, boom. He was like, do this, duck 1, duck 2, like, arm drag, leapfrog, this, that. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I was proud that I was able to keep up. And I think the same thing would happen to you. And then down the line, the idea would be that you would have the ability to call a match just like that, because I think that's so important, to feel your crowd out there, as opposed to saying, this is what we wrote down, and whether you like it or not, we're going to do it to the end. You should have that ability to audible. That takes a lot of time, though, and a lot of practice, to be able to audible. Like, just going out for your first match, you're going to be incredibly nervous, Sage and Hyde, how were you, Sage, on when you did your debut and you did your first match?
I didn't even technically consider it my first match because you're in front of a crowd, but to me, I was so green that I didn't even consider it my first match. Technically, it'd be that Rite Aid thing. It was that festival in front of Rite Aid, and that to me that seemed like training, because you're so freaking nervous and you're like, I'm not wrestling, this isn't moves, what the fuck am I doing, this isn't a match, but it is. So regardless if it's good or bad, that's your that's your first go.
Those street shows, I do love them, because it's like people that aren't on the internet, they're not going to talk about your match, which is right, could be a bad thing, but it also, if your match is bad, you just want that experience, get it out there. And you get, and it's still in front of a couple of hundred people, but maybe they're not gonna rib you for messing up or not, looking the greatest. But yeah, you're gonna be incredibly nervous. Your first match, as it is, you're gonna be incredibly nervous. Just to, even if, man, if you were doing your first match and we were said we're not gonna call it, we're gonna call it all in the ring. Oh my gosh, you'd be really scared. But you'd feel great afterwards if you were able to pull it off. Hyde, how did you feel on your when you debuted and did your first match?
It was nerve-wracking. It went by really fast. Like, by the time I was able to digest that I'm in a match, it was already comeback and then to the finish. But yeah, I was nervous, and it was at the biker show. I wrestled Boogie, and I was in the mask, so it was fast, and I was nervous, but it was good. We pulled it off, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I want to feel that again,"
Yeah, I totally remember that, putting you in a mask. When you mentioned that you were put in a mask, I want to say to everybody here, think of a masked character that would be yours. You should have dual characters. I get it. You want to wrestle as who you are and be in the main event. Sometimes there's promoters that just ask for masked characters, or quote unquote luchadors. And a lot of people will turn down, and there's a guy named Koto Hiro that gets all those bookings, at least here at Santino Brothers, because he wears a mask. I would totally get a second character. Even sometimes, like what Sage is saying, man, even if I'm going to do my debut, maybe I should be under a hood and I could just be not me, and just be somebody else, and just kind of get the butterflies out, cut my teeth a little bit, get all those nervous feelings out of me by the time I wrestle without a mask. But it's incredibly useful to have two characters. Just, you never know what somebody's looking for. But also, the same thing I'll say when you create your name, I'll always tell you, come up with 5 different names, but don't just come up with one good name and then 4 throwaway names. You have to come up with something that you like. So if you have a second persona under a mask, or under a hood, as we say, making sure it's something that you like. Create something, you know.
What if
I
you want your second character to have like face paint? Would that be okay too, or would you just say like go for the mask now just because we're trying to
I think the face paint can work. You got to really like change your persona. Like when I painted my face, right? I had long curly hair as opposed to my short blonde hair that I was coming off of. But what I made sure to do was wrestle different. You know, I think I still did the moves that I like to do, the power slam, the leg drop, or whatever. But I really like to do hold-to-hold wrestling, and the character was Voodoo Chaos that painted his face. Right, he was a voodoo guy, a zombie guy, because I like zombies, so I wanted to try to bring that to life in pro wrestling. And how can I do it realistically? Well, maybe people will buy into the voodoo gimmick, you know. So I'm not a zombie per se. I'm more just possessed or something with black magic, whatever the case could be. But I love like hold to hold wrestling, headlock, takeover, head scissors, front neck bridge, roll out, you know, grab the front face lock, north south, you know, stuff like that. But as I did this character didn't understand wrestling per se. Just character just wanted to fight. You know, so if you're gonna paint your face, just make sure that you're a completely different character. And I think it'll also challenge you to be a better wrestler. Because those characters may come in down the line. Like I think Christopher Daniels was able to go to New Japan Pro Wrestling way back in the early 2000s as what is his name? The guy with the soup on his head, Curryman. Curryman, yeah, and he would wrestle just in Japan as Curryman, and then he'd come on the States and be the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels. But I thought that was really great that he was able to do that and then he was a totally different character. He was dancing, and Christopher Daniels was a serious character, especially when he was the Fallen Angel. He'd always, you know, be like this or something, just real serious, and he was Curryman. I mean, he was doing that Curryman dance, and it was like, is that Christopher Daniels? Yeah, he was able to do that, but brought something completely different to the table, and was able to do a run in New Japan way back in the day. So that's what I would say if you're going to paint your face. Try to think of a different character. But right now, we don't know who the character is yet, so it's all, you know, it's all building. It's all just sculpting it right now, throwing things against the wall, see what works and what doesn't work. But that's what it's going to take. So what I want everybody to do is we're going to be doing also a match review this week. So I want everybody to watch some wrestling. All right. So first of all, number one is I want you to look up, what was the name? Did you write it down? Billy
Robinson.
Yes, I want you to look up Billy Robinson. And I want you to watch a match, and I actually want you to tell me about the Billy Robinson match that you actually watched. One that I don't know if everyone has the network. I'd like you to watch Bret Hart versus, let me see here. I'm going to actually just say, I want you to watch Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, not the cage match. I want to do Monday Night Raw. I think it's 94 Monday Night Raw. So I want you to look that up. And I give you these matches because I believe they are on YouTube. I don't know if everybody has the network to search out some of the other matches, but I want you to watch those two matches, or actually one match, and then I want you to find me a match to watch about Billy Robinson, and then give me takeaways that you have from Billy Robinson watching the match and how he's actually putting it together and what he does to put it together. Okay, so that's going to be about it. Does anybody have any final questions before we sign off today? Anybody? Do I see anybody?
Oh,
Yes, Kristen.
kind of thinking back to what you're talking about with certain promotions to cut your teeth on.
Mm-hmm.
Will there? I'm kind of in the process of whether, or at least thinking about whether or not to back away from this certain promotion. But is there a time where it's good to move on?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, if you can't take anything else away from the promotion, maybe you're stagnant there. Maybe they have no plans to put you in a program or put you, you know, higher level onto the card or anything like that. Then yeah, I think it's time maybe to wrap it up. and try a different promotion. That doesn't mean that you'll never be back, right? If we ever watch pro wrestling today, right, people bounce back and forth. They go from WWE, they hate WWE, they go to AEW, they love it so much. Then you're going to start seeing wrestlers go back to WWE, and it's just a cycle on how it's done. So just always remember that when you leave, doesn't mean it's going to have to be forever. There might be some promotions you want to try to grow and get away from, and I totally understand that, but there might be some times that you have to come back and hit it. And you'll see people actually do that in WWE. Look at a guy like Cody Rhodes, right? He was probably stuck on the mid card for his whole WWE career. I'm sure if he came back now, he would be in the main events. There's no doubt about it, because he left and he built his status, built his name up a lot more into the main event, right? Probably something that he's always believed, his father's always believed, but somebody over in WWE didn't believe him to be higher than the Intercontinental or tag titles, So you'll definitely see that you have to sometimes leave in order to come back with a splash, and you'll definitely see a lot of wrestlers do that. Kevin Nash did it, right? He was like Master Blaster. He was like Great Oz in WCW, and then he came back as the Man because he made himself got himself over in WWE as Diesel, and was able to go into WCW and demand in his contract that nobody will ever be paid more than me, even if I get paid $1 more than everybody else. And that's what he was able to do. And he was able to grow that leverage in a different company. So I think there is times definitely if you're not taking anything away from it and not learning. And it could be because maybe you don't understand what you need to learn at the time, and then you have to take a step back and come back to it, but you always want to try to get on the better shows, little by little, or even if you're on the shows, try to get on the better part of the card. Always just trying to move up, right? Never being so comfortable we're complacent. Okay.
Okay. This kind of a part two. What if it's a company that they do treat you well, and they have given you the championship belt, or the title, I mean, but it's kind of a reputation stain.
Well, if you've already, that's what I always tell a lot of the wrestlers. Like, if you haven't taken the time to build your way up in a company, or a lower tier company, then maybe you should stay. But if you've already done stuff like that, then yeah, I totally would be. And then always, what do you feel in your gut? And then that's the answer right there. You're already answering it. You just maybe don't want to actually go through the actual part of saying, I'm cutting ties or I'm moving away for right now. Sometimes that's always the hardest part, right? Asking to apply yourself, asking to say, hey, I don't want any heat, I don't want any problems, right? Because it's a big deal to you. And usually when you just release it, you feel so free. And so I would say, don't let it pent up. Just do it. Just say this is how we're doing it, and to very little emotion involved, right? Because a lot of in wrestling, we're going to have a lot of emotion involved, and you got to always remember, at the end of the day, and I'm going to say always wrestle with your heart, but this is a business, what you're trying to do, unless you just want to stay complacent on a level, and that's fine, because it's traveling the world and working for the WWE may not be for anyone. And then when I first heard that, I was like, bullshit, you just can't make it. It's not true. Some people don't want to go. They just want to wrestle in Southern California, right in their area, right? Everyone's got a life to live. I got kids that I got to take care of. I'm not going to go leave them. Right? We've all heard those stories about the wrestler dad, right? And how shitty of a wrestler dad he was, right? So some people think about that and don't want to do it. Everyone's goal is a little bit different. So, but we're over on time right now. I hope that answered your question, Kristen. Let's go ahead and bring it in. I'll make sure to post the picture tonight. If we're a week late, but at least we got it. Santino's on three. Santino's on three. 1, 2, 3. Santino. All right, I'll see everybody on Wednesday. Be safe. Watch Raw. Watch.
Have a good one. Thank you, Coach.
Guys, good night.
Good
night.
Good night, everyone.
Later, people.
Bye. Adios.
See ya.